Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Guy in His Garage. My name's Cam. If you saw last week's video, you're probably wondering why I'm standing next to the truck when I said we were going to work on the 8N again. Well, to be honest with you guys, I started to do rear brakes and I wasn't going to film it because it was supposed to just be a simple pull the caliper, pads, and rotors off, throw on some new rotors, some new pads, put it back together. Everything's happy honky-dory. That was Friday of last week. It's now Monday. And as you can see, the brand new rotor is still sitting on the ground. Let me bring you guys in closer and explain. Okay guys, so this is the rear hub for our rear axle. Yes, that is anti-seize. I do that because a lot of times the rotors get stuck to that and it just makes it easier for them to come off. I always make sure I clean the studs off so that the lug nuts aren't sitting there willy-nilly loose. So started all this is I had a noise coming from the rear end. I thought it was just pads getting worn down and it was time to replace them. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So this is our main backer plate that is supposed to hold our emergency brake system inside of our drum of our rotor. So you can see it's pretty rotten. So what ended up happening is one of the retaining pins for one of the emergency brake pads pulled through. So the pad was sitting in there cockeyed and that's what was causing the noise. Unfortunately, to replace this backer, we have to pull the rear hub off. As you can see, I already have the axle shaft pulled out. So now what I have to do is I have to remove this specialized retaining nut, which requires a specialized socket, which I went and got over the weekend. So we'll get that pulled, then we should be able to get the hub off. Then we can finish getting the 4 bolts that actually hold this whole assembly to the axle assembly, replace this so-called backer plate with a new one, and then put this whole thing back together. So you can also see there's a pan full of oil, and that's because when you remove your axle shaft, you actually open it up and the fluid drains out of your axle tube. So we'll have to pull the rear diff cover, clean it all out, RTV around our differential, put our cover back on, put all our bolts back in, refill it, and then hopefully we should be done. Okay guys, we got our e-brake cable off. These things are a pain in the butt. So this hooks on to the back side of this plate here, hooks into here. All right, but what makes these difficult, it's not necessarily this piece. There's a clip in here that has these little prongs that kick out, that gets pushed in through here. So when you push it through, the little prongs kick out, but trying to get all of them squeezed in and pushed back through, it's an absolute nightmare, but we got it. So now what we'll do is we'll take the rest of these nuts, back them out to the top of these bolts, and then slowly work our way around with a hammer and try to get them to come out so that we can replace this plate. Alright guys, surprisingly enough, with 2 solid hits, it came off. So obviously there's a little bit of rust going on here, right on our end of our axle tube. Nothing too concerning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this old seal on because we're going to replace this seal because this actually goes in the back of our hub. And I'm going to take a wire wheel on a drill and clean this all up. Make sure we don't have any other major issues going on here. Once we get that cleaned up, we'll knock this old seal off. We'll switch over to getting the rest of this disassembled because we actually need this bracket out of here and these studs. So once we get those all separated from this plate, we'll put the new plate in, get it all mounted back up, and keep on going. Okay guys, so we got it all cleaned up. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually spray this all down with some brake clean. And this pan is absolutely catching everything, you know. I want to get this all nice cleaned up, get all the old grease, grime. I want to check our threads here on the axle tube. Everything looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to tape right along this edge here with some painter's tape. So what we don't want to do is get a bunch of paint on this portion. Okay, so we'll tape from here forward up, and then I have some black rust inhibitor paint, and we'll hit all this up, get it looking good, and then we'll move on to our bracket and the plate, getting those separated. And then I gotta go wash up, because you guys probably noticed I got a lot of artwork done. It's not done yet. There's probably, I don't know, another 14 hours worth of tattooing my artist has to do. So far he's done a fantastic job, but I don't want to get it too dirty and infected. So once we get this painted up and that taken care of, we'll call it a night, let the paint dry, and then tomorrow we'll come back, put this all back together, and maybe tear the other side apart. We're gonna try this angle. You guys let me know whether you hate it or love it. I don't know yet either. But okay, we're on the workbench. We got our plate and brake caliper bracket here. We got to get them separated. We might even try doing one of these numbers. Yes, that seems to be the solution. Four. Hey, there we go. That's all she needed. Little love. And that is one extremely rotten backer plate. Yeet. Let's clean that up real quick. These are new backer plates. Maybe. So this literally, well, that's got me a little worried, guys. These holes don't line up at all. Clearly it don't go that way. Well, guys are getting cleaned up and headed back to, I don't honestly remember if this was the O'Reilly's, the AutoZone, or the Advanced run at this point. I think these ones were AutoZone. Well, other than putting a second coat on our axle tube, looks like we are done working on the truck tonight. We will have to go try to get these exchanged for the right ones. Something tells me these are for a different style axle than what we have. You know, my understanding is Ford only used a 10.5 rear on these trucks, but that don't mean anything. I love how the box doesn't even say what type of vehicle it's for at all. It literally just says brake dust shield pair. That's it. Hopefully I'll bring you guys back tomorrow with the right shields. Okay guys, so unfortunately it's actually been a few days. The last bit of footage you guys saw was from Monday. It's now Thursday. This video is supposed to be out tomorrow at noon. I don't know if that's going to happen. Guess we'll find out. Part of that was we were waiting on parts because these were the wrong backer plates. I have the right ones in the Focus. However, I want to take some time first before we go to put our backer plate on to go through our hub and make sure that everything gets cleaned up, we get our seal swapped out, and that the two sets of bearings that are in here are good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and get into that. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna flip this over. That bearing's gonna fall out. And you know guys, these are probably the original bearings. And even though they seem fine, part of me wants to almost see how much they are and if I can go get them right now so that I don't have to tear this rear end back apart anytime soon. Okay guys, so luckily AutoZone had wheel bearings, inners and outers. I'm not replacing the races, I've already checked them. Heck, our bearings probably don't even need to be replaced, but like I was saying earlier, truck has almost 200,000 miles on it. I'm pretty sure these are the originals. So while we have it apart, might as well do them so that in 6 months we're not tearing the rear end back apart to put in new wheel bearings. The only thing I want to do before we go ahead and put our new bearings in is I'm going to take a wire brush, clean out our studs. I got some, it's probably a bad hand motion to make on YouTube, but I got some hand brushes. Let me grab one. So I have these. I like to use them just to help get down and clean our threads out. And we'll blow those out. All right. So this is an inner, that's a new race, but we're not going to put that race in. Something I'm going to look up is whether or not we actually have to pack these with grease. Because to be honest, I'm not sure, because my understanding is this should get oil from the rear diff that gets spun around in here. However, I'm going to look it up real quick. Okay guys, so I did look it up. It took me a minute. Google was messing me all up because some people say yes, you have to pack these bearings. Other people say no. Some people are saying that the Ford manual says one thing and says the other thing. So I did what any 28-year-old with a father who was a master mechanic for almost 30 years does, and called him. And he said, do not pack them. So he said his recommendation is I'm using, obviously, AMSOIL, because, you know, I love AMSOIL. Not sponsored, but AMSOIL, you know, if you guys want to sponsor me, you know, hit a guy up. Email's in the description. But anyways, this is SAE 75W140. So this is for the rear end. And this is fully synthetic gear lube. So when we finish this and do the other side, we'll actually drop the rear diff cover, drain the fluid out, reseal it, and then once that seal is good and hardened for 24 hours, we'll go ahead and fill the rear end back up. But what we're going to do is we're going to use one of these to lightly lubricate our bearing and our race inside of our hub, both inner and outer, and then we'll reinstall this on the truck and be good to go. Other thing to keep in mind, a lot of Ford trucks require special additives in the rear end. If you buy from AMSOIL, all right, most of the time, if not always, the additive is already added into these squeeze bottles. All right, and what's nice is these squeeze bottles make it really easy to actually get this in the rear end versus trying to play around with a funnel and everything else. Cut our tip to be nice and small here, because again, we only need a little bit right now. We're just trying to coat our bearings. And actually, we'll do this one, the outer last. We'll do the inner first, which is going to require the bigger bearing. Just going to dump a little bit on there and then spin it around, let it coat. Do the same thing on the back side here. And this isn't something you need to go crazy on. You just want to give it a nice light thin coat. Set that there for right now. And the other thing we'll do is we'll take a little bit of this and coat our race in it. And we'll set our new bearing right down there in the race. Fits nice and good. I'm gonna take these gloves off because now what we got to do is, you saw me pull our old seal out. So I have new seals right here. So this is a two-piece seal. So when you put this in, you want to be careful with it. Okay, so usually what I would do is I would just coat this in a little bit of Vaseline, but for today's purpose, I'm just going to use a little dabble of our gear lube here. This is just to help it slide in a little bit easier, guys. You gotta go crazy with it. We'll set it right there, try to get it nice and even. And you wanna just lightly tap on the outside metal portion. Try to get it to go down as even as possible. So slowly work your way around. Try not to damage your seal. All right, we got that good and seated down in there. And I'll do is I'm actually going to put a little bit more of this on the inside of our seal so that it slides right onto our axle tube nice and easy, and help prevent damaging it when trying to get it on. So the next thing we got to do is we got to get into our new backer plates. Important to remember is that this side, right where the shield doesn't go all the way around, is actually where your caliper is. So this one, if I'm not mistaken, is our driver. This one should be our passenger. Okay, this is the bracket. I already went ahead and got it all wire wheeled, got it cleaned up. So this literally just sits in there like so. That's how that's supposed to go, is down on there. I'm probably gonna cheat and use the studs to pull it all the way on. Clean these up real quick. Well guys, I don't know if the GoPro's gonna pick it up too well, but it's raining. And I don't feel like getting soaked. So it looks like we're done for now. Okay guys, it's the afternoon of the next day. And you probably noticed we're now on the driver's side. I really just wanted to get the passenger side done because one, it was the worst side. But two, I needed to feel like we accomplished something. So the other side is completely put back together. I just have to put the tire on. The only reason why it's not on is because I repainted the cap of our axle shaft after I torqued all of our bolts. So I'm letting that dry before I go and put the tire on it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull our axle shaft out of the driver's side, pull our e-brake assembly apart, get our hub off, and then get our caliper bracket and backer plate off, get it all cleaned up, and get it put back together. I don't know if you guys have the hard time with it like I do, but the shop's a mess, tools are everywhere, and I'm to the point where I just really want to get this done because I'm tired of looking at everything. So a large portion of this is probably going to be time lapse, so let's get to it.